morning, world. I know it seems like it's been a long time since we've seen you. At least it seems that way for Cedric and I.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
It's because we've been doing a lot more episodes, and then we decided we needed a little bit of a break, right?
Yes.
And the holiday, and now it's been 150 degrees here in Corona.
Today we're going to show you how the media can try and lead you down and paint one picture, when in reality they're trying to paint an entirely different picture. And the big question we have today is, why do people act like black conservatives don't exist? When we know good and damn well they do exist. I know. Oops. I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian, and this is Cedric and Brian. Hi, Cedric. So this is a show that I caught. I randomly found it on YouTube. It's put out by NBC. And it was called, I think you mentioned it, it said, why do people act like blacks and conservatives don't exist? So I thought, hey, it caught my eye. Let me see how they frame it, because we know how the mainstream media seems to play black conservatives. Let's watch this. We'll pause it when we need to make a comment, and have you guys watch it with us and tell us what you think.
Traitors. That's what their haters call them. So they retreat here. A secret group chat with other supposed sellouts. But they do.
I just wanted to make a comment.
Okay.
A secret group chat. So they almost, to me, make it sound like it's a cultish type thing.
Right.
So they're already painting a picture, not like Tim Scott, not, like a mainstream Republican, conservative black guy, but secret text messages. Anyways, I just wanted to pause real quick. We'll continue.
Commit a crime. They're just black Trump supporters. And this is their coming out party.
I'm gathering this is kind of a judgment-free zone. Everyone can kind of just be themselves. And
I think it confuses some people. They see like people walking around with MAGA hats, and they're probably like, do they like know what they're in line for?
Kalasia, Charisse, and Anthony bonded on social media. They're here in DC to finally meet others like them in person. As a biracial woman, I know exactly what it feels like to be misunderstood by your own people. So that's why I came here, to find out why everyone acts like black conservatives don't exist.
USA! USA! USA!
This is the nonprofit behind this meetup, Turning Point USA. They promote conservative values on college campuses, and you might know it because of them. Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens.
There is nothing more American than being black in this country.
But today, the crowd is here to see someone else.
Is that racist guy?
Who in this room wants to be president someday?
He's colored. He's orange.
President Trump's approval rating among African Americans hovers around 14%.
It's actually up to 20
here,
now.
though, it's off the charts.
The African American unemployment rate has hit the lowest level ever recorded in the history of our country.
This is a recurring theme.
African American unemployment has reached its lowest rate ever recorded.
Trump deserves credit for his role in maintaining low black unemployment levels. It's been steadily declining since before he got to Washington.
So here's where they do their subtle thing, where they're showing it go down under Obama.
Right.
To try to take the credit away from Trump.
Right.
I knew this since it was coming from NBC. There was going to be some spin to it. It wasn't just going to be a glowing thing, which is fine. It's actually some reporting that's being done, so which is good.
Right.
So, yeah.
But beyond that, the picture looks a little different. The median net worth of black families is 10 times lower than white families. The gap between black and white home ownership is growing, and black college graduates still make significantly less than white college graduates. But for these students, this is bigger than just the economy.
Go fact check
Before
that on your own.
A conservative, I started to feel like I was a victim, but once I got out of that victim mentality, I actually started thriving.
My biggest pet peeve is when people say, we've made no progress since slavery. Are you kidding me? A lot of what I heard today was the narrative that Democrats really don't care about black people.
We sit in these really bad, dilapidated, broken communities. Democrat policies have continuously been implemented, and they have not worked.
Welfare reform is on the president's to-do list. And this gets to the core of conservatism, that liberal policies unintentionally do more harm than good. after LBJ created social programs like food stamps and Medicare in the 60s, the rate of black economic progress actually slowed down. They made progress, but not as quickly as in the 5 years before these programs started. Still, there are far fewer black people in poverty today than there were back then. But even if conservatives...
Okay, so that stat, how they're trying again to spin it, there's a lot less people, period, in poverty than back then.
Right. Whether it's black, white, Asian.
Yeah, and that actually, and this is what they don't want you to see, capitalism actually brings the most people out of poverty, not social programs.
Right.
Social programs, like she said right before, which was good journalism, that these LBJ Great Society things actually slowed down and, as Cedric's talked about before, actually took the fathers out of the home.
Right.
And has led to the destruction of a lot of the progress that was made before that.
Yeah, because China didn't become a world power until they started to embrace capitalism.
Yeah. All right, let's continue.
Conservatives are right about welfare holding folks back. Sometimes Trump makes things complicated.
After Charlottesville, when he said there were fine people on both sides, do you think that was racist?
No one likes to see Nazis parading around singing blood and soil. That could have been handled a lot better.
Okay, so they're taking a situation that was very bad. Obviously, you had white supremacists clashing before that. What she just said there is how the media keeps saying that Trump said there was good people on both sides.
Right.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides. As I said on Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. You had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now. I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups, but not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists by any stretch. Those people were also there because they wanted to protest the taking down of a statue, Robert E. Lee. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
He has yet once to condemn white supremacy, the neo-Nazis. He hasn't condemned a darn thing.
The neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
They keep perpetuating this lie. They brought that up but didn't clarify it. And I'm sure they edited this with these kids that probably came back to her and said, well, no, Trump came out and said it, because I know they've been to the turning point. They know the truth.
Right.
But they left it out of this NBC episode.
Trump sometimes says things in the wrong way. I never feel like he's personally attacking the black community.
Not all black conservatives agree. We met up with Quadricos Driscoll. He's a Republican who teaches religion and politics at GW.
Do you think it's fair to call Trump a racist?
I think it's fair to call Trump a racist. Yes, how I define racism is about power structures.
Okay, so they say he's a Republican.
Right.
Do you think he's a Trump supporter with those comments?
Probably not.
It's kind of disingenuous to bring a guy on just because he says he's Republican. That's going to be fair.
And I just want to say this real quick. What we have in Trump is we have someone who is not a career politician. We have someone who's a businessman. And I think that's what we needed. I think we need someone to come in who wasn't PC. Trump isn't PC. Anyone who I've talked to really hates him. That's one of the main reasons why they hate him, because of the way he comes out. Very bombastic, very hard-hitting. And I think that's what we needed. He doesn't apologize for what he says.
He's basically addressed some of the things that I was frustrated back in the Bush days, where they would come out just as much against Trump as they did with Bush. Go back in history and look. They were just as biased back then, but Bush didn't fight back. Bush was trying to be Mr. Nice Guy.
Right.
And guess what
Mr.
happened?
PC.
And things kept shifting and shifting and shifting until we had a president who wanted to fundamentally change our country. And he said it. Obama said, I want to fundamentally change our country.
Right.
Trump's in there to say, no, I want to hold on to the founders. Do I want somebody like Trump to be president all the time? No, but he's the guy right now that I think, at least if you're conservative, you needed to kind of be a stopgap and say, hey, look, we need to put the brakes on.
Yeah, he's what we need right now. And I'll come out and say it. Brian doesn't like when I do this, but it's like, yeah, we need him for another 4 years. Do we need another Trump after that? Probably not. We need someone, I wouldn't say PC, just someone who's more palatable to the taste.
The only way that a free society works, and especially the United States, the way it was set up with the First Amendment, we need a free press, but that press has to be fair.
Right.
Right now it is not fair, and it hasn't been fair for 40 years. And now, because of Trump, people see that. So just for that alone, I think he did a good job, is that now, they pull back the curtain.
Right.
People see that the media, and if you're watching this and you say, no, I think the media is pretty right down the middle, we don't know what to say then. If you watch the questions they asked Joe Biden just this last week, basically the questions are, what do you think about Trump's evil soul? I mean, that's the question. And then on Trump, it's why are you such a racist? I mean, those are the different questions they ask. Let's continue. Sorry.
That prevent access to certain things. And so when we look at his policies and when we certainly look at his rhetoric, it falls in line to what racism is.
Why do you think we see such vitriol coming from other members of the Black community directed at people within this young Black conservative movement?
That is one thing I never agreed with. Black conservatives aren't going away.
He's right. This isn't some new trend. Then why are there so many culturally conservative African Americans who don't vote Republican? Well, it goes back to the end of slavery, when Black people did vote red. But just as they became Republican leaders in the 1930s, Hoover's administration kicked them out to appeal to Southern racists. It's when Roosevelt's New Deal came along that minorities saw a chance to turn their misfortunes around. And when Republican presidential nominee Barry Goldwater opposed the Civil Rights Act, that's when many Black voters switched.
Okay, so here's where they're trying to lead you. I am going to link an article about Goldwater's being against the civil rights. Goldwater was for civil rights. He voted for all of the Civil Rights Acts up until this one particular one she's talking about, and it was because he believed, like most conservatives, in individual rights, and he was afraid that this was making the government too big and was squashing individual rights. It had nothing to do with the race issue. Again, they put these things out there, and you're going to say, oh yeah, Goldwater, he was anti-Black. That's not what he voted against. Right. And he was specific in it, and you can go back, and I'm going to link it, because we're not going to feed you everything here. People need to
Please do yourself a favor and read the article before you comment.
Yes, please. And they go back to Hoover. Yes, there was horrible people. Woodrow Wilson. He was a Democrat. He was one of the biggest racists out there. But they don't mention him back in the teens.
Loyal Democrats.
Being a Black conservative, you kind of feel like you're the only one. People have been really crazy, especially Black people. I had some people tell me to bleach my skin, kill myself, you're a coon, you're Uncle Tom.
It's like one thing to be called those things by like white people. When it's within your own community, it hurts.
And white people don't call you that.
There's Kanye. You didn't think we'd forget about him, did you? Before his fallout with Candace Owens, people here appreciated the visibility he lent to the cause and the MAGA hat.
This is our president!
I noticed on your Twitter you had that post about wearing your MAGA hat for the first time.
Yes, which was yesterday. It's giving me courage to stand up for what I believe in.
Here's the thing about the hat. When these guys wear it, it's an act of defiance that says we're not Democrats and we are not invisible. Look, people are messy, too messy for the simple little boxes society wants to put us in. And if someone doesn't fit, it's becoming much easier to dismiss the unknown rather than try to understand it.
America first! America first!
So overall, especially coming from a mainstream source like NBC, I thought it was good overall. I mean, but if you didn't stop it like we did, and that's why we wanted to watch it with you, because they put these subtle things in there for you to think, oh, you know, for one, they kind of built it up as a cultish thing. They brought out the Republican who still thinks Trump's a racist.
Well, it's true. I mean, and we talked about this a few videos a while back. A lot of blacks grew up in the South voting Democrat. Like for me, growing up in a Democratic family, my dad being from Mississippi, my mom being from Alabama, we were indoctrinated to vote Democrat. Until like the people that I looked into, you read stuff from Thomas Sowell and more contemporary people like Larry Elder and Candace Owens. And like Brian and I have challenged you to do right now, when you investigate for yourself and not have a knee-jerk, visceral, emotional reaction to everything, because that's what I get, and I'll say 97% of the time when I try and have a logical conversation with someone on the left, is tell me why you're voting for that Democratic candidate without invoking the word Trump. If you can articulate to me why without having some emotional knee-jerk response as to, oh, I hate him and the way he says it and how he says it, and he's just, we can't have a discussion. But if you take the time to relax, like I'm trying to do, and then again, in the comment section, tell me if I'm wrong. If you can sit down and research for yourself and tell me why you're voting the way you vote, I listen every single time. And I've shared with Brian, like sometimes I've walked here on our studio and said, dude, I'm just tired. I'm just getting a lot of backlash, but I have yet to get, I've had maybe one person, a coworker, who has tried to talk to me articulating things, and we've had some logical discussion. But other than that, it's just been emotional responses to this. And if I can be so bold to say, we're probably going on too long with this, the reason, and I'm going to say it, the reason I'm voting for Trump is because black lives do matter to me. And the two things I want to point out is Trump came up with the one-step program, or the first step program.
First Step Act.
The First Step Act. And again, do your research. Research the First Step Act. And secondly, you guys don't know this, historically black colleges always had to come back every year and ask for more money until Trump put out a mandate saying that they're going to get funding. No other president, Obama included, did that. If that man doesn't support black people, I don't know who does. And then, and I don't want to beat her up, the whole interview with Cardi B where she goes, well, I want free health care and I want free this.
And lower taxes.
And lower taxes. People, you got to be smart. The health care comes from taxes. So if you want to go from a 30% tax bracket to a 67% tax bracket to help fund that stuff, then vote for the Democratic president. But please do your research and find out, yeah, you're mad at Trump. Yeah, he wears a permanent scowl on his face. And yeah, he kind of says, screw you all over his face. But at the end of the day, when he's signing all these mandates and he's signing all these laws that go into act, he is doing it for the American people.
I'm going to put a few guys up that have been kind of big in California now, and I think they've been traveling a little bit. But one, he goes by the name MAGA Hulk, right? And then these other guys, and
ouch, I just hurt myself flexing.
We're going to watch a little bit of this too.
Tell me, the BLM movement was here earlier. Yes. What were you guys all debating about? What was the problem?
The Slayer. Oh yes. Let the man speak.
He wanted to talk some nonsense about where this country really is, that it's stolen land. I asked him, well, then who do we give it back to? He had no answer, which most of their arguments have no answer.
It's not your country. You came from Europe. All your ancestors came from Europe.
Is it your country? Yeah. Is it your country then? Is it your country? So who should we give it to? So what should we do? Just burn it all down? So how about all the old poor black women and dying right now? How's it built? How's it built? So what do we do? What do we do?
We are children of Kush.
So where are we going? No. So where do we go? You get out of here. I know history.
He kept saying that he built this land.
Yeah, he didn't build anything. He didn't build. I mean, right now, if you're going to build something, you get a job, so you put your taxes back into your city. That's called building something, or start your own business. That's what this country's about. It's not about getting some kind of like minimum wage job that you hope pays for your life. It's about you getting out there and making your own way. But if you look at where is it harder to make your own way? Blue states. Where are they making it hard? I talked to a guy last week. He goes, well, the only reason why our jobs went up is because the regulations got cut. I go, yeah, more people got money in their pocket. Right? And so he doesn't know what he's talking about. But what I hit him on is the fact that they're out here. They want me to say some guy's name who multiple times beat up his girlfriend. Yeah. Multiple times has sexual assault.
He's not my Martin Luther King. Nope. He's not my Martin Luther King.
That's who I'm so.
So that's what Cedric was saying in a couple episodes, that they're making a martyr out of Jacob Blake now. And we can dovetail just really quickly. Kamala Harris and Biden went and were basically putting this guy on a pedestal. What about his victim, the one who called the cops on him?
Right.
The two people running for the most powerful positions on earth, basically, the president and the vice president, are going and supporting a rapist who literally, they were talking to him in his hospital bed because he's chained to his hospital bed because he's under arrest for sexually assaulting somebody and for endangerment of kids.
Right.
So, and these are the people that we're lionizing, we're martyring.
So sit there and get into fights with my fellow citizens for. I show him pictures of names of kids. Like we had like 8 to 9 of them, just under the age of 20 teenagers in Chicago that died just in the month of July alone. 38, if no one knows, 38 children in Chicago alone through this defunding bullshit that Black Lives Matter has been pushing. 38 kids in the month of July.
What about those black lives? Let's talk about those black lives. Let's talk about those black lives.
When have you seen a poster? When have you seen any of those faces on the cover of any magazines? But Oprah Winfrey is going to put someone on there who was working with her boyfriend in a drug trafficking trade down there. But we don't want to talk about that.
No.
You don't want to talk. That's who I'm supposed to stand up for.
Mega Hulk, you almost turned green over there. Now I want to know what were you giving? What were you telling those guys?
Well, I was trying to get them to understand, like, just at first answer the question, because we would give him a question for him to answer, you know, because Donald Trump is racist. Well, how's he racist? That's it.
He's been
That's the response I get.
I've seen him quoted saying some racist shit about black people.
Like what? Nothing. You got nothing. You keep saying, oh, I heard him say this. I heard him say that. So you have no facts, though, right? You got to jump on some facts. That's it. Oh, and then just repeat it and repeat it. So I'm like, look, just answer the question.
I'll put this clip down in there too. These guys were at the rally in Beverly Hills, and you know, very liberal part of a very liberal state. And these guys went out there and they were showing support for Trump, obviously with their MAGA hats.
Right.
But they asked questions. So we asked, this is what you need to ask your liberal, especially the white liberal friends, when they say Trump's a racist. Tell them to give you some examples. Yeah.
He is. How? You know he is.
Because
Based on what? He just is.
Because he said there was good people on both sides. Well, we already debunked that, right? Anyway, we just wanted to bring this episode up to show that, you know, I'm always trying to, because he does get called a lot of names. I don't get called the names. He gets called the names. I mean, we even gave you the poll. You know, we were supposed to be Whitey and the Coon, you know, which it should have been Cracker and the Coon, if you want to be fair. So give us both names. You know, I try to find these things that with other black conservatives on there, which is growing, by the way. Black Trump supporters, it's growing. So before we go, a couple funny things. If you haven't watched the Candace Owens Cardi B debate, you know,
you can't call it a debate. A debate means it's equal footing.
Google that. But we have some strong. We want you to make an informed decision. So I have a clip from Joe Biden about why he should be president.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it.
Look at how he steps and look how I step. Watch how I run up ramps and he stumbles down ramps, okay? Come on.
So as you can see, Joe Biden thinks that he can walk ramps much better than President Trump. So I think case is closed.
Well, that's it. I'm voting. That's
right.
Got my vote.
The ramp. Of course, poor FDR in his wheelchair wouldn't have been able to do that. And the Democrats love FDR. They would have kept voting him in if they didn't put limits on.
Well, we've missed you guys, and we're back in the saddle again, going full force, probably up into the election and beyond. Make sure you guys keep watching. Share this video with all your friends, especially for those people who think that blacks don't vote for conservative, or in the words of Biden, if you vote for Trump, you ain't black. But in the meantime, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you ring that bell, and share this video with everyone you know. Until next time, I'm Cedric.
I'm Brian. See you later.